It's not a boss, follower, employee sort of relationship. It's a true partnership, and it can be very contentious at times. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick will really go after each other, as will Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan. There's conflict there. There's give and take. They're very affectionate. They love each other underneath it all, but it's a very interesting relationship. And now, what this does is that partnership, that ability to talk to each other, the ability of the coach to stand down and let the captain do what they want, the ability of the captain to recognize when it's time to listen to the coach, that thing is so important, that relationship. And I think one thing that we can do as managers when we're hiring someone for a leadership position, especially if we're going to be working closely with them, or if we're being interviewed for a leadership position, we need to think about that person that we're reporting to. Do you have that kind of rapport? Can you talk openly and honestly? Can they trust you? Can they be your partner? Can you lean on them? Can they lean on you? Is there respect in there somewhere? Will this person give you autonomy to sometimes deflect what they want to do and make adjustments? And that relationship is important. I think when you're interviewing someone, you have to really think, can I really get into it with this person? Is this someone that I can really trust emotionally, not to get upset, not to take things personally, but to really engage me in sometimes difficult dialogue about what's best for the team? And that's something we don't think about. In fact, I think we tend to opt for people who we think really think we're brilliant and are going to do what we say and are already kind of simpatico with us and already have a tendency to want the same things that we do. That's not the right instinct. You really want someone who has views of their own, but can also listen and can engage in that kind of conflict. And Alex Ferguson from Manchester United was my favorite example. And he said something that just completely surprised me, which is that he said, everything I do to help Manchester United win, I work doggedly, day in and day out, behind the scenes, with practices, with every detail of travel, everything that happens, strategy, everything. But the moment the whistle blows and the game begins, I have no responsibilities. My job is done. It's up to the captain of the team to implement and to make sure that we do what we need to do to win. And if you remember Ferguson, if you ever watched European soccer, you remember he used to sit during games. He would sit down in the dugout with his hands folded across his chest in his parka. I mean, he didn't jump up and down. Modern coaches, you see them on the sidelines, they're jumping up and down, they're screaming.
Yeah. Our volleyball coach was exactly that. He would sit on the bench, slumped, with his arms crossed, and nobody sat next to him. There were 3 or 4 chairs, in fact. We called it the buffer zone. And he was absolutely silent. And he could look at the captain on the floor, and it was a Tim Duncan eyebrow. He would raise his eyebrow, and you knew exactly what he wanted you to tell the rest of the team. So I think it's really interesting because I've seen that style before.
It's really funny. It's so hard to do that when you're a coach, especially when you're or a manager, especially when the stakes are high. But that's when it's really important to allow the captain. If you've got the right person with the right instincts and the right behaviors and the right mentality, you have to trust them, and you have to believe that middle manager, that person who is an intermediary between you and the players, is going to take all the information and put it together and come up with the right course of action. And you have to be willing to stand back and let that happen. It's not easy for a manager to do, especially when things are going badly, but that's crucial, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the application for this to everybody listening, if you are a CEO of a company, and it's not just about putting one leader in place that can be the captain on the court, on the field, it's actually your entire leadership team. So you should be able to sit on the bench and raise your eyebrow at every single one of the sort of intermediary leaders, right? Your executive team, and know that you guys have that relationship, you have that communication, because that's how you're going to reach the whole company, not just the members of one single department. So I think that's really, really essential.
Yeah, no, I like to call them alpha betas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of the best term I could think of. These are people who do not, they're betas in the sense that they don't want to climb necessarily. They're not interested in prestige. They're not constantly thinking about how everything reflects on them. or their own kind of personal trophy case. They're so much more focused on the goals of the group, but there's an alpha quality to them. I mean, one of the mistakes that I think managers make a lot of times is when they get someone like this, they kind of take them for granted, because these people, their motivation comes from within, and they're so conscientious and predictable that they're going to do the right thing in any circumstance. And one mistake that we make, and I study these captains, one of the things that surprised me about them was a lot of them really went to the bat for themselves when it came to money, or it came to rules, things inside the team. And it's things that might seem selfish on the outside. You would think these people don't care about money and they don't care about compensation or anything like that, but they do. I think they understand their value. They know how valuable they are to the team. And one of the things that you have to do is not only try to find these people, to install them, but you have to take care of them. And
Yeah.
the mistake we make is that we don't. And I heard this great example from a guy who works for a lumber company. He's an executive at a lumber company, and he wrote me to say that he liked the book, and he had characters like this, and he knew what I was talking about, because that was the kind of leaders he looked for on his group. And he said he's come up with this strategy, which I thought is brilliant, which is that he knows that these people don't want a big party. They don't want to be given a trophy that says Employee of the Year. They don't want any individual recognition at all. In fact, they're mortified by it. So what he does is he just goes up to them every year and he writes down their new salary with a nice increase on a piece of paper. And he walks over to them and he just slides it across the desk, and he says, I understand the value that you bring. I know how hard you work. I deeply appreciate it. This place revolves in many ways around you. And I just want you to know that I understand and I appreciate you. And that's it.
Wow.
And it works. That's how you do it. That's how you motivate these people. That's what they respond to. They want to be, they want you to know that their value. They don't need the accolades and recognition that come with that, but they need to know that you understand.
Yeah. That's, what's fascinating about that is Tony has something called the six human needs, and, significance, certainty, variety, growth. Like, there are a lot of core human needs that a lot of people that you would think are the leaders of an organization have. Like, significance would be one of them. But one of the human needs that a lot of people want more of, and they want to be seen as this, but it's very rare, is contribution. And it sounds like this ideal leader is somebody who very much values contribution. So by doing that, by increasing their salary and just saying, hey, I understand how much value you bring to this organization, you're essentially feeding into their desire to be recognized for what they're contributing. So I think that's a really interesting way to, reward those A players.
That's great. I would go heavy on